receptive to fabric treatment and to dyes than the man-made ones. And so there is even a brand here in New York that has blown up very big called, I don't know the proper pronunciation of it, but it's either called Bode or Bode. You guys probably might have heard about it. And that's what she does. There's a brand in London, BioLead. Even Greg Lauren as a brand, which is a huge brand. He's a nephew of Ralph Lauren. He does a lot of recycling, he does a lot of vintage fabrics and that kind of stuff. And so sometimes you're able to make better deals when you're buying fabrics like woolens or cottons that a manufacturer wants to get rid of because he wants the cash to put into all the things that make it more profitable. And nobody wants to be stuck with 8, 10, 20 yards rolls of fabric that they cannot sell. So if you can use it and you can say, hey, you're selling this for $30 a yard, I will give you 15 for it and take all of it off of your hands. But make sure you know what you're going to do with it beforehand because you don't want to buy a whole bunch of fabrics and be stuck with it. So those are ways to use up the excess fabric that has already been made. It's basically the same thing as using vintage garments. You know, the fabric is not made into anything else yet, but it's already existing. And instead of having it thrown out, or it go to waste, or it just being there with nothing to do, you use it to make beautiful things.
Excellent, thank you. We're coming to the end of the panel, and I really want to get everyone's kind of views on if there was one really, really key focus for your businesses in 2020 in terms of becoming more circular and supporting this circular economy that is so important, what would that be?
Sure, I can start. So, I'll just share a little bit. So the New York City Fair Trade Coalition, we have about 75 small businesses, and we have over 200 advocates. So these are individuals that just want to promote and learn more about fair trade. And for 2020, my goal is to expand beyond that and not get stuck in my little bubble of fashion, of sustainable fashion. Because there's a whole host of people that still see no problem at shopping at certain large retailers. So I think expanding the conversation and connecting the dots why it's important to meet people where they're at and help move them along the way, because you're never done with your knowledge on sustainability.
Thank you. Maria?
Yeah, just to continue on what Andrea was saying, basically to educate, you know, and to really think about what you're doing, be conscious of it, and just kind of spread the word and know that, you know, it's interesting because in my business, I did 90% of my business in the United States, and people would say, well, how do you do that? And, you know, with being competitive. I said, well, you know, labor isn't the only factor. You know, it's fabric, so you can, you know, research. And that's the other thing that I really encourage whoever I meet and all our participants, that there's no, you just have to keep researching. I mean, there's just no end to it. You know, you have interns do it, or just find out the information, because the information is out there. In fact, I have a line of organic color-grown cotton in my store, and unfortunately the resource that I was buying from is no longer doing that, so I had to spend, you know, a couple of hours just researching, and actually I met new people that are doing this. So that's the thing, you never know who you're going to meet, and it's just educating and just, you know, getting the word out.
Thank you.
I would say pretty much the same. My focus would be about continuing to spread awareness about sustainability. And through my, I do have a book by the same name as my brand, Morningham Vintage, which was published in 2008. So you have that. And I have 2 classes at FIT. Clothing reconstruction and how to build a vintage business, so through that as well. And the store that I just recently opened up, we have workshops every week in regards to sustainability in some aspect. But I would say most importantly is the drive to create Sustainable Fashion Week for September 2020. That is my goal.
Thank you.
My goal, as I mentioned earlier, is actually to really continue the team focus and, like I said, making it a broader picture for them. So it's not just about producing something that's for now, but something that's going to be here perhaps longer than you are, and what are you going to do with that? So equipping them with the skills to think that way and then make clothes. Think that way and then go buy stuff. Think that way and then.
Sounds perfect.
2020, actually, we have 3 initiatives, which is our goals and dreams as well. I think the most exciting one, at least for me, is we're now producing a biodynamic cotton. Biodynamic cotton is several steps up compared to organic, and the biggest difference is it's farmed in an environment where it is believed to be a living organism. That we use 85% of the land, the remaining 15% is left to biosphere, meaning you need to have the grass and the trees so that there are bees and there's pollinating. Everything is natural, like that you don't have one crop all over the year and years after year, which requires synthetic fertilizers, pesticides. So this biodynamic farming is with non-GMO seeds, cotton seeds, and it has the mentality of abundance compared to organic cotton, which is scarcity. Organic cotton is, don't use that because it's harmful, but you should be okay if the productivity is 60% and if the quality is a little less. In biodynamic cotton, it's just the opposite, that you have more production, better quality, and nothing comes out of the farm, meaning that everything, fertilizer is natural, it's with the cows, with manure, and you have additives, like there's 11 preparations, and with that, you make the soil a living soil, so the quality is much better, and biodynamic cotton will replace all cotton production because it's more productive, it is very sustainable. It also takes care of the community, that there are schools, healthcare systems, sports and art within the community that you grow this cotton. So this cotton, after the second portion of what we're doing is, we're going back to our roots, meaning that we're not going to use any synthetic dyes to dye the cotton. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the old botanical dyes in an industrial way. The problem, what happened in 1700 to 1800 with the Industrial Revolution, because it was so productive, without taking care of environment or anything, like things have been produced in abundance, in quantity, in quality, but we then find out that it is really creating problems with the planet. So if we can create a system where we can dye a t-shirt, for example, using natural dyes, in a process there is zero discharge of hazardous materials, let's say. Not only that, the water coming in, the water coming out is drinkable, and it's a closed system that you don't have to throw water out. The water stays. It's just like a spaceship. The spaceship goes and the urination of the astronauts is reused for them to drink again. So that is possible. We can now use science to create an environment using natural resources and processes, and we use the energy from solar system. There's everything coming out, doesn't go out, and if it does go out, it's clean. So this is an ideal case for producing tomorrow's garments. And we are giving a lot of effort to make this happen with the help of the universities, with the people, with the industry. So that personally excites me most. There were other 2 projects, but this personally makes me so much excited to produce these items.
as the last point, and then we're going to go to the audience for questions and answers.
Just very quickly, 3 things. Just basically doing what we are doing already better and in a more efficient manner. We have ideas and perspectives that we're implementing, and we don't think that we've gotten to optimal performances yet. So doing that. The second thing that we're focused on is getting the customer to care. I find that a lot of times we have these discussions and we talk about sustainability, respect for the environment, and all of those things come at a cost. But when the cost comes in terms of monetary costs, people have a tendency to shrink away. Like if something is better for the environment or something is more efficient or more sustainable, but it costs more in terms of dollars, then people say, yeah, I like it, but they go the route of what is financially cheaper for them. But what is financially cheaper is not necessarily better. So we want to spend some time educating people about making wise choices in terms of how you spend your money. Something might be a little bit more expensive now, but it's better for you and for the environment in the long run. So we want to spend some time educating that. We also launched a program that we want to really, really promote that not a lot of people know about. It's called 3R, which the 3R stands for Refresh, Renew, and Recycle. What we have done is that we have opened up the opportunity for a lot of our customers who have bought or had garments from us for a long time. If it has faded or it has lost buttons or it has ripped or whatever, and they think about throwing it away, we said, no, you can send it back to us and we can put new buttons on it, we can re-dye it, and we can extend the life of the garment. We've also decided, because originally we decided to do that just for our own products, but we also decided that we're going to open it up, that the products don't have to be things that we manufactured. But if you have something from another brand, we're not going to make the distinction to say, well, we're not going to work on it because it's not our product. It's about making sure that you minimize waste and you don't have to throw out something that can be salvaged and that can be made new. So we want to promote that so that people know that there's a place where they can send their stuff and have it refreshed, renewed, and recycled.
Okay, thank you everyone so much. I'd like to open up the floor. So if anyone's got any questions, can I ask that you introduce yourselves and then ask a question? You go for it.
How you doing? My name is Proverbs Taylor, and I'm an all-around artist, but I do got a question because I was listening to a lot of what y'all saying. So for me, as a designer, I had to, let's say, not going to school, not knowing anything y'all know, I had to stumble on it on my own, so I started out as upcycling. And then I realized that, okay, before I started sewing, the upcycling was easy for me to make some transitions and add some things on. Then I took some classes and then learned how to make patterns and go to a certain point. My point is, now when you get to, you want to buy fabric because we can't produce our own fabric unless you went to FIT or something like that, and you want to get it at a small quantity here in New York, it's hard to do that, so you would have to go overseas. So my question to y'all is, for someone like me who is not going to pay $20,000 on all this fabric that I'm not going to use because I only need a small little bit, and then second, you spoke about the vintage fabric and you spoke about the vintage fabric. For me, I felt like since I didn't have $30,000 to go buy old vintage fabric, I went out and went to thrift stores and got vintage fabric from what someone else already made. But then when I put it to my pattern, I bring it right back to that square shape and make my own bodice or whatever you want to say. So to me, it was still the same thing as if I was cutting it from a piece off the, I don't know, what is it called? The roll. So my question, I got two questions. One was when y'all were talking about vintage fabric, what's the difference between cutting it off the roll and you just going somewhere and buying a jacket that was already made, but then you take it back to that original square shape and make it into whatever you want? Is it because you said maybe those vintage fabrics are not made the right way, so it's not good for the environment? I was kind of not understanding what y'all was saying in that. And then just like I said, for a person like me that has ideas that I want to design my own fabrics, but I can't because no one is doing it at a small quantity I haven't even met no place, not even $5,000 that you could do it for $5,000. It's been definitely $10,000 and up. Or, I don't want to put nobody out there. People that I know that may have gone to FIT, they're like, well, hey, I'll look out for you. You can do it through our program, but it's not necessarily. I'm not doing it on my own because my point is I got to do it through you. Da 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 da. And I'm an independent person. I did all that. But you're trying to actually do it here. So my question is, can y'all answer those two questions for anybody?
It's 38th Street, 39th Street, there's plenty.
Hello? Yeah, there's plenty of resources out there that aren't always so costly. I stumbled in this myself, so it's not something that I was trained to do either. And though I started upcycling, I did do the whole dead stock of fabric to try to stay sustainable because I realized how limiting one-offs were. When somebody wanted 20 pieces and it's impossible. And then I went that route, but you know, you have to do what you love. See, I could do it from scratch, but I don't like doing it from scratch. I like doing it the way I do it. So that's the way I chose to do it, and the resources that there's Fab Scrap, Fab Swap. There are a bunch of places you could go to. Mills and textile places and that's if they have any throwaway fabric. I mean, if you want to put in the work, it's definitely out there for very minimal or free.
I've looked for 2 years and have been in front of a lot of people, but no one's given me a specific place to go to. I'm a young man. Tell me a place to go to.
Are you familiar with FabScrap? Are you familiar with FabScrap?
No, I'm not.
So if you go down to Brooklyn, they have a facility. So FabScrap started with the Department of Sanitation. So FabScrap goes to all of the fashion companies in Midtown primarily, and they're a recycling service. So they'll give off their excess fabric, you'll go to Brooklyn, you'll sort for fabric for 4 hours, and you get 5 pounds of fabric for free. So I work with artisans in Uganda, and that's how I started. I actually brought 50 pounds of fabric with me to Uganda and did production there, small scale, and then brought it back here and sold it, and essentially my supply was free. So go to FabScrap, there's actually a store right over on, they just opened a store on 26th Street, which, you know, the prices are a little cheaper, but go volunteer, get free fabric.
What about printing? Like if I want to design my own fabrics, that's the question I need.
Let me address that, please. Yes, good evening again. We did utilize the solution to your own problems. And I will use my personal experience just to be very brief. When I came to New York, I had no money when I was starting out as a designer. And one of the things that I figured out, as I said, is that you could dye fabrics, you could treat natural fibers in ways to make it your own. And so what I did is I went to the stores and I bought only silks, I bought only linens, I bought only cottons, and I bought them in solid colors so that I could utilize. I painted on them, I drew on them.
But you bought them with no money?
Very little money. He's talking about having to make an investment of maybe $5,000 or $10,000 to a fabric manufacturer. I'm saying to him, you have to plot a chart from where you are to where you want to be.
Which I'm already doing. I've done
Hold on, let me finish. If you want answers, I'm giving them to you.
Go ahead.
And I'm speaking from personal experience. I have 19 years of experience of struggling as someone who was an illegal immigrant first and had no money to the point where I built a business where at the height of it we had 13 employees selling to 17 stores globally. So I have a lot of information and I don't mind sharing it. I'm saying to you, you can paint, you can stamp, you can have a stamp made and stamp on the fabric. You can design and have a carver carve whatever you want and stamp it on the fabric in blocks. You have to figure out ways of doing it on a small scale, and as you build up your business and you make more money, then you can invest into the things that you want to do. Like you can go to a fabric printer now and say, hey, I need to make this print because you have already the resources. But if you're small, you don't need to tie up $20,000, $30,000 in fabric. You have to think about how can I use my own skills and my own abilities And it benefits you in this time where people are looking for things small and special and unique to take that kind of approach to it.
Okay, we're going to take it offline and talk, I think maybe catch up after because we're going to run out of time. Is there anyone else that's got any questions? So yeah, gentleman here.
Yeah, so my name is Sekou Carradine, been in fashion for about 20 years. I had a question about sustainability. I kept on hearing that term used throughout the panel. This woman here said sustainability means that everything was knitted correctly, so therefore it lasted a long time. That's one case of sustainability, but then I hear another talk about sustainability where there's certain fabrics that are organic and dyed, and that's another form of sustainability. So I'm not hearing the separation of the two, so I need to figure out which direction, because it's all the same, but it's two different conversations. So
Actually, it should be several.
It's several.
It's several.
It's several that need to happen. Yeah,
It's not one thing.
Thank you.
And you know what? Before, I would say 40 years ago, sustainability was what we knew as
Right.
common sense.
Right.
Yes.
Right now, we just don't have a lot of
And because like my
So-
family, the Caribbean and African, sustainability has been in my family forever. So
Right.
this new thing about like stamped organic, stamped sustainability, I'm like, what is this? Like when I hear, yeah, we've done that, bro.
Google it.
It's a whole line over here.
Right.
You're like harassing your
Sorry, but my point is about sustainability. Sustainability. So about sustainability, excuse me for the gentleman right here, but sustainability, I just wanted to know about the confusion that I have about what that means, I guess, in the civilian form, in the sense of that the conversation is being had, but like you said, there's so many conversations about sustainability, and yes, you can Google it, but my point is I have you guys here in front of me, and I don't have Google right here, I have you guys, all right? So that's the answer.
Okay, well, so what I would say sustainability is just, and I'll speak as an architect right now.
Right.
I know I'm going to build something and it's going to be around for a long time. So I want to make sure everything I put there is actually something that's not going to cause harm to the people occupying it.
Yes.
And it's not going to degrade before they're actually done occupying it. So that's like, in a general sense,
Right.
what my job is,
Okay.
apart from making sure it's really comfortable and
I
spacious.
understand.
But so that's really, I would say, anything that we're doing, even if we're gonna go and get takeout, right? We might say, you know what, I'll take this canvas bag that I have that's not gonna actually melt while I'm taking my hot food home,
Right.
instead of taking a plastic bag that I'm gonna throw away in 20 minutes. So it's really just a matter of reconsidering our everyday choices. Like what could I do to make it a little less
Yeah.
burdensome on the environment
Okay.
without like making a big to-do. It doesn't have to
A
be
big
brand new fabrics or what have you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the lady here.
Hi, my name is Olivia Hamafer, and I'm very close to the work of the UN and the 70 Sustainable Development Goals. So, my question to all of you, are you here together just for this occasion, or do you work with each other and at other levels that we can continue the conversation maybe at the UN?
Great question.
I mean,
I was just there this week. They had a sustainable fashion campaign where they announced certain initiatives, and the UN serves its purpose for educating a larger audience, but it's very much marketing in a sense. And the SDGs have done a wonderful job at opening up the conversation to different industries. But there are a variety of events happening all the time. If you type in sustainable fashion, I know we have events every single week. So there's really a large community here that is very interested in continuing the conversation consistently.
we don't currently, at the moment, we all in separate projects work with Rick and the Brooklyn Star Foundation, and we've all come together to share our knowledge and learnings around this topic.
One of the things that I just came around, there is going to be another award for projects related to sustainability that a lot of people don't even know. I know this, that a lot of people don't know how to manage the UN website and how to get information. So I will be very happy to share that with you after the panel. And I'm sorry, really? I would love to share information with all of you and maybe try to keep together so we can prepare
I like that
a
idea.
presentation.
That's fine.
And the UN, it has, the followers is 10 million and in one shot you reach so many people.
Sounds
don't
I've
mind.
actually done workshops, team design workshops with them, but through like museums in the city, never actually directed to the UN, but that would be fascinating, particularly
let's
now
talk
that
about
I'm
Thank you.
interested in
Thank you
it.
very much. Thank you.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Hi, so nice to be here. I'm Cecilia and I live in Denmark, so this is quite different from what I'm used to, but it's so nice to be here and get the chance to ask you guys who are professional in this industry. So you started talking about the people coming first. So my question is, how do you, because I used to be a consumer of fast fashion until 3 years ago, then I stopped buying clothes. So it's family and friends who always support me with clothes. But I do consume another parts, but you have to start somewhere. And this industry is it's a good one to start at, I think. So back to the question, how do you talk to those people who actually go and buy fashion?
Do you want to go?
Yeah.
It's a good question.
Talk to what people?
Consumers.
Our
To consumers.
Yes.
Maybe know
So-
nothing about that one.
Yeah, so like in our store, when, we have these lay tall scarves, and I tell them the story about how they're created and how there's very little waste. Immediately we have a sale, because the interesting thing is, especially for gifts, because then it shows it's exponentially continues, because then the receiver gets it and there's like, oh wow, my friend was so conscious, about, the environment, and now I've learned this, and, so it can just continue, and you tell the story. And people are so, interested in stories these days, whether it's from a cooperative of women in Turkey or Africa, and also please make sure to visit our participants, Harriet Reeds, and she does repurposed out of vintage fabrics or pillows, and they're on display here. So, it's just a matter of, educating the consumer. If you have a store, or even if you meet people, as you meet people in events or whatever, a lot of people don't know what they don't know.
I wanted to, well, with my folded reconstruction class, when you have people come, it's just like you said, it's something we've been doing all our entire lives, but now it's called sustainable, but hand-me-downs is what sustainability is. And that's what we used to do when we were, kids. So you have these people taking my class, and it's more like initially like a old school knitting club where you just gather around and you're chopping up your clothes. And fast forward to now, and now you have, I would say 80% of the students are pursuing sustainable design. So it started out as fun, but now you see the upswing or the trend of people getting into doing it a more sustainable way. But the whole point was that when you see that light switch goes off in that students, because they'll come maybe that first day with 2 pieces, not knowing what to expect. And once they understand the possibilities of upcycling and recycling, they come back next day with a suitcase. Because now it's like their mind is blown, and now they want to rework everything that they have that's been sitting in their closet for years. So it's really that ground roots and just spreading awareness Or someone asks you your outfit and I'll tell them I haven't shopped retail in 12 years. And they'll go, well, where'd you get that from? And people just don't know. Like you said, they don't know what they don't know. You can thrift and you can do resale. There's so many ways to still be fashionable. You don't have to buy anything at the mall or retail.
Thank you. We're really running out of time. Okay.
Hi.
Short.
I'm not really anybody that special, you know. I'm kind of like a nobody. My name is Joseph Albert Riccardi. I just wanted to say I'm very, how should I say this? I like what your organization is doing. You know, you're all very brilliant people. Especially you, you're brilliant. I think your ideas are wonderful. They're innovative. They're original. Well, I mean, a lot of people do it, but you know, the scale that you're doing it on, it's very admirable.
Have you got a question?
Yes. My question is simple. What are you guys doing to give back? Like I hear you guys are using reusable, you know, resources or whatever. I just want to know what charities are you involved in? Because Turkey is actually a very, how should I say this?
I'm not sure that's relevant. I feel like
I don't know
panelists.
what charity, you know, or how you guys, you know, what else you guys do.
We actually teach kids all the time.
Yeah.
That's my question.
I think they would
Teach kids,
explain
that's
that.
great. Right.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you so much to all our lovely panelists. There are a few designers showing some product in the back rooms. Please feel free to take a look. And as Turka said, if anyone would like to see the showroom on the 7th floor, please do so. Thank you all for your time, and let's hope to build a more sustainable future.